Dr. Keiko Tanaka had read the contract 17 times. Observe crothy pack dynamics in their natural social environment. Simple. Straightforward. Exactly the kind of fieldwork that would make her dissertation on interspecies bonding behaviors actually publishable. Nobody mentioned the part where natural social environment meant gladiatorial death arena. This is a mistake, she said, watching 9-foot reptilian warriors limber up with movements that suggested extensive experience in the art of dismemberment. I'm supposed to be in the observation deck. The Melodian administrator, a crystalline being that looked like someone had given sentience to a chandelier, consulted its datapad with a sound like wind chimes having an anxiety attack. Observation deck? No, you are participant 847. Human. Category: unclassified bipedal. I'm a xenobiologist. Yes. We are very interested to observe how your biology responds to combat stress. Keiko stared. I'm here to study them. She pointed at the crothy warriors, who were now doing what appeared to be pre-murder stretches. And they are here to study you. Through the traditional crothy method of vigorous interaction. That's a horrifying euphemism for ritual combat. We prefer cultural exchange through physical discourse. The Melodian's crystalline structure pulsed with what might have been pride or possibly indigestion. Very prestigious. Many species compete for arena slots. Yeah, well, those species probably have claws, and scales, and a basic understanding of what they signed up for. Keiko pulled up her own copy of the contract on her datapad. This says, observational study. Correct. You will be observing from inside the arena. They will be observing you. Very efficient. A deep gong resonated through the chamber. The crothy warriors, all 12 of them, turned toward her in perfect synchronization. Their scales shifted from deep blue to hunting crimson. Oh, that's not good, Keiko muttered. That is the battle summoning, the administrator explained helpfully. You should enter the arena now. Tardiness is considered deeply disrespectful to the War Alpha. I'm going to file such a complaint about this. Please survive first. Paperwork is much easier with living participants. The arena door opened with a hydraulic hiss that sounded way too much like an airlock. Keiko stepped through because, apparently, her survival instinct had taken the day off. The arena was exactly what you'd expect. Sand-covered floor, weapons racks on the walls, dramatic lighting from above, and enough dried bloodstains to suggest the cleaning crew had unionized and gone on strike. The crothy warriors spread out in a semicircle. Predator formation. Keiko had seen it 100 times in her research. Wolves, lions, velociraptors, that one particularly aggressive species of hamster on Theta 9. War Alpha Scarveth stepped forward. He was the biggest, obviously. They always were. His scales bore ritual scarring that probably told an epic story about honor and glory and definitely several murders. Human, his translator rendered in a voice like gravel achieving sentience. You enter the bonding arena. Here we test worthiness through combat. Here we forge pack through battle. Here we... Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, Keiko interrupted, pulling a protein bar from her jacket pocket. There's been a massive administrative screw-up. I'm not supposed to fight. I'm supposed to watch you fight. Scarveth tilted his head. The other warriors shifted, confused. I'm a researcher. A scientist. I study pack behavior in apex predator species. She unwrapped the protein bar, took a bite. Which, not to be rude, but you guys are textbook. The semicircle formation. Classic. The alpha forward positioning. Predictable. The synchronized scale color change? Little showy, but I respect the intimidation tactics. One of the warriors made a sound like a kettle boiling over. The translator struggled for a moment before settling on. Is the prey critiquing our battle stance? I'm not prey. I'm a xenobiologist with 3 advanced degrees and student debt that will outlive the heat death of the universe. Keiko finished her protein bar, tucked the wrapper in her pocket because littering was rude even in death arenas. And yeah, I'm critiquing. Your formation has a weak point on the left flank. Also, she pointed at a smaller warrior. You're favoring your right leg. Old injury? The warrior looked down at his leg, then back at her, then at Scarveth, as if asking permission to be confused. This is not how the bonding arena works, Scarveth rumbled. You should be afraid. You should fight or flee. You should not be offering biomechanical assessment. And you should probably see a physical therapist about that leg. Keiko walked closer, which was either very brave or very stupid, and she wasn't sure which. Look, I get it. You're apex predators. You've got the whole ritual combat for social bonding thing going. It's actually fascinating from an anthropological perspective. But I'm not equipped for this. She held up her hands. 5 fingers. No claws. Soft skin that would definitely not stop any attack sharper than harsh language. See? Prey class appendages. No natural weapons. My species' idea of combat is strongly worded emails and passive-aggressive meeting scheduling. Scarveth leaned down, bringing his face level with hers. His breath smelled like something had died, been resurrected, then died again out of spite. Then you will die quickly, he said. This is also acceptable for the bonding arena. Or, and hear me out, you could just let me observe from the sidelines like a normal research study. There are no sidelines in the arena, only combatants and the honored dead. Great. Love that for me, really painting a promising picture of my immediate future. Another warrior stepped forward. War Alpha, perhaps? The human is defective. It shows no fear scent. I'm standing right here. And it's she, not it. Keiko crossed her arms. Also, I'm plenty scared. I'm just expressing it through sarcasm and poor life choices instead of running away screaming. It's a human thing. Scarveth straightened to his full height. The trial begins. Take your position, human. My position is that this is a terrible idea and someone's getting sued. Take your position. Keiko sighed. Fine. But when I die, I'm haunting whoever screwed up my paperwork. She walked to the center of the arena. The Crothy warriors began circling, their claws extended with sounds like knives being sharpened on other, scarier knives. Remember, Scarveth announced, first blood bonds the pack. Show your strength, or show your acceptance of weakness. Both are honored in... One of the warriors lunged. Keiko didn't have time to think. Her body just moved. A dodge she'd learned in a self-defense class she'd taken because her apartment building had bad lighting. The warrior's claws missed her face by inches, but caught her shoulder instead. The pain was immediate and sharp. Blood welled up through her jacket. Not much, just a scratch really, but enough to smell. Enough to trigger every Crothy instinct in the room. The warrior who'd struck her froze. His scales went from hunting crimson to something Keiko had never seen in her research, a confused gray-green. First blood, someone whispered. Then everything went wrong in a way that defied every single piece of research Keiko had ever read about Crothy pack behavior. They didn't attack. They didn't celebrate the blood bond. They didn't do any of the ritualized combat responses documented in 12 peer-reviewed papers. Instead, they surrounded her. Defensively. 12 apex predators, warriors bred for battle, champions of ritual combat, formed a protective circle around the bleeding human, like she was the most precious thing in the universe. Scarveth's translator crackled. What? What is happening? Keiko, clutching her bleeding shoulder, stared up at the wall of scales and muscle that had just decided she needed protection from. What, exactly? I have no idea, she said. But this is either really good, or really, really bad. The arena fell silent, except for the sound of her blood dripping onto the sand. And somewhere in the observation deck, alarms began to scream. The protective circle held for exactly 15 seconds before one of the warriors broke formation, looking at his claws like they'd betrayed him. War Alpha, the warrior said, his translator struggling with what sounded like existential confusion. I positioned myself to guard the prey. She's not prey, another warrior corrected. She drew first blood. She is... They all turned to Scarveth, who looked like someone had just told him that gravity was optional and his entire worldview was negotiable. She is worthy opponent, he declared, though his scales flickered with uncertainty. Yes. Worthy opponent protocol. Very rare. Very honored. Keiko, still bleeding and now thoroughly done with the day, pulled off her jacket to examine the wound. Worthy opponent protocol? Is that what we're calling this? You face us without fear, Scarveth said, sounding like he was trying to convince himself. You critique our formations with knowledge of combat tactics. You show no submission behaviors. Therefore, worthy opponent. I'm literally sitting on the ground bleeding because one of you has terrible impulse control. Keiko pulled a first aid kit from her bag, because she was a scientist and scientists came prepared, even to surprise gladiator battles. This is the opposite of worthy opponent behavior. She cleaned the wound with antiseptic. The sharp medicinal smell cut through the arena's atmosphere like a knife through butter. Every single Krothy warrior flinched. What is that chemical weapon? One demanded. It's isopropyl alcohol. It kills germs. Keiko applied a bandage with practiced efficiency. You know, germs? Tiny organisms that cause infections? Please tell me the galaxy's apex predators understand basic biology. Scarveth leaned down, sniffing carefully. His scales shifted to concerned yellow. You damage yourself with burning liquids? I'm cleaning the wound so it doesn't get infected and kill me later. Keiko pressed the bandage down. It's called basic medical care. Very advanced human technology. You tend your own injuries during battle, another warrior observed. This is practical, Keiko suggested. Sensible. The minimum requirement for staying alive. Dominant pack behavior, Scarveth finished, his voice awed. You show no weakness. You address your own damage. You maintain status through self-sufficiency. Or, and this is crazy, I just don't want to bleed out in a gladiator pit because of a filing error. The arena speakers crackled to life. The Melodian administrator's voice echoed with bureaucratic concern. Participants, please resume combat protocol. We have 17 species observing this cultural exchange. The bonding arena must continue. Keiko looked up at the observation windows. Sure enough, dozens of alien faces pressed against the glass, watching with what could only be described as horrified fascination. No, Scarveth said flatly. Silence. I'm sorry, the administrator said. Did the War Alpha just refuse a direct arena command? The human is injured, Scarveth growled. Battle is paused until she recovers. That's not, there is no provision for wind chimes of panic. War Alpha Scarveth, the bonding arena has specific protocols. First blood has been drawn. The ritual must continue to pack acceptance or honorable death. Then we accept her to the pack. Scarveth's scales went solid, determined blue. Combat concluded. The other warriors rumbled agreement. Keiko stared. What? You are pack now, Scarveth declared. You showed courage, drew blood, survived, we accept. I survived because you all decided to form a cuddle puddle around me instead of doing the murder thing. Protective formation, one warrior corrected, not cuddle puddle. Same thing from where I'm bleeding. The administrator's voice reached new pitches of crystalline distress. This is unprecedented. Unacceptable. The human cannot be accepted to a Krothy pack without completing the full ritual combat sequence. She completed it, Scarveth said calmly. She got scratched and sat down. She entered the arena. She faced superior opponents without fear. She demonstrated knowledge of pack dynamics. She marked herself with pack scent. That's antiseptic. And she showed dominance through self-care in the face of injury. These are all traditional acceptance markers. Keiko finished packing her first aid kit. You're really committed to this rationalization, huh? It is not rationalization, it is tradition. Scarveth sat down next to her. On the sand. In the middle of the arena. You are strange prey that is not prey. We protect strange packmates. This is the way. I'm starting to think your species has some serious classification issues. Another alarm cut through the arena, different this time. Emergency tones. Attention, a new voice announced. Not the administrator. Someone higher up the bureaucratic food chain. We have a developing situation. Arena 23 is reporting similar protective behaviors from the Vraxoth clutch. Arena 15 shows the Kendari refusing to engage their human participant. Arena 8. The voice paused. Arena 8 reports the Stellar Ravagers have begun grooming their human. Keiko's brain short-circuited. The what now? Stellar Ravagers, Scarveth supplied. Very fierce, very proud, very not known for grooming behavior outside of mating rituals. Oh, this is bad, the higher-up continued. This is very bad. All arenas with human participants are experiencing combat protocol failures. Species-wide protective instincts are triggering across 17 different apex predator classifications. The observation deck erupted in chaos, aliens shouting in dozens of languages, translators overloading. The universal sound of bureaucrats realizing they'd severely miscalculated something. Emergency council session, someone declared. Immediately. This is a Code Vermilion situation. What's Code Vermilion? Keiko asked. Galaxy-wide threat assessment, Scarveth explained, still sitting calmly next to her. Usually reserved for extinction-level events or warp anomalies. And they're using it for… what, exactly? For you. For humans. His scales shifted to fascinated purple. You have somehow weaponized vulnerability, made predators want to protect instead of hunt. This is… He paused, searching for words. This is either the most brilliant military strategy ever conceived, or the most dangerous accident in galactic history. Keiko looked at her bandaged shoulder. At the 12 apex predators who decided she was their new pack member. At the observation deck where the entire galaxy was apparently losing its collective mind. I just wanted to study pack dynamics, she said weakly. Congratulations, Scarveth rumbled. Now you are the pack dynamic. The arena doors burst open. Guards poured in. Dozens of them, from multiple species, all armed with weapons that looked excessive for crowd control and inadequate for whatever they thought was happening. Dr. Keiko Tanaka, the lead guard announced. You are hereby detained for questioning regarding potential use of biological warfare and illegal manipulation of protected species instincts. I got scratched and used a band-aid. Please come with us. The Council requires immediate explanation for the galaxy-wide combat protocol failures. Keiko stood up. 12 Crothy warriors stood with her, forming that protective circle again. The human is pack, Scarveth announced. She goes nowhere without pack protection. War Alpha, this is a council matter. Then the pack attends the council. His claws extended slightly. This is not negotiable. The guard looked at his backup. At the circle of apex predators. At Keiko, who was currently wondering if her malpractice insurance covered accidentally becoming the galaxy's most dangerous weapon through basic first aid. Fine, the guard said. But you're all coming. And someone get the Xenobiological Warfare Division on standby. I'm a xenobiologist, Keiko pointed out. Not a xenobiological warfare specialist. Dr. Tanaka, the guard said tiredly. You just made 17 species of apex predators form protective circles around humans across 43 different combat arenas. I don't care what your job title is, you're coming with us. As they marched her toward the council chambers, surrounded by her new pack of confused warrior aliens, Keiko had one clear thought. Her dissertation was either going to be legendary, or get her exiled to a black hole. Possibly both. The council chamber looked like someone had designed it specifically to make everyone feel small and intimidated. Vaulted ceilings. Dramatic lighting. Seats arranged in a semicircle that put the accused in the center like a specimen under a microscope. Keiko had been in tenure review meetings scarier than this. Dr. Keiko Tanaka, the council arbiter began, a floating jellyfish-looking creature that pulsed with bioluminescent authority. You stand accused of deploying biological warfare against protected species, manipulating neural chemistry through pheromonal weapons, and violating approximately 117 galactic statutes regarding ethical treatment of sentient beings. I used a band-aid, Keiko said flatly. Behind her, Scarveth and his warriors maintained their protective circle. The council had tried to separate them, That had lasted approximately 30 seconds before the Crothy made it clear that separation was not happening without significant property damage and several casualties. A band-aid, the Arbiter repeated, its translator dripping with skepticism. Is that what humans are calling their pack dominance technology? It's a small adhesive strip with antibacterial coating. Costs about 15 cents on Earth. You can buy them in bulk at any pharmacy. A council member from the Vraxoth delegation slammed multiple appendages on their console. Lies! No simple adhesive could trigger the protective frenzy across multiple apex predator species simultaneously. Protective frenzy? Keiko raised an eyebrow. Is that the official term now? It's what we're calling the unprecedented behavioral cascade you triggered, another council member explained, their crystalline form refracting light in agitated patterns. 43 separate combat arenas, 17 different species, all exhibiting the same protective response to human presence. This cannot be coincidence. Have you considered, Keiko suggested, that maybe your combat rituals are just terrible ideas that evolved species instinctively reject when presented with actually vulnerable participants? The council chamber erupted in overlapping translations of outrage. The bonding arena is a sacred tradition. Thousands of years of cultural significance. How dare you imply… Keiko pulled out her datapad. Okay, let's look at this scientifically. You take apex predators, species that evolved with complex pack hierarchies and protective instincts toward vulnerable pack members, and you throw them into ritual combat. That's fine. That works when everyone involved is an apex predator with similar threat assessment capabilities. She pulled up a holographic display. But then you add a human. Bipedal. No natural weapons. Obvious physical vulnerability. And we display classic subordinate pack behaviors. Making ourselves smaller when threatened, showing our soft underbelly, exhibiting stress without fleeing. That's not subordinate behavior, Scarveth rumbled. That's dominance through fearlessness. It's actually just me being too tired to care about dying, but sure. Let's go with your interpretation. A Melodian scientist in the observation gallery stood up, their crystalline structure vibrating with excitement. She's right. Humans trigger what we're calling the vulnerable packmate override protocol. A deep evolutionary instinct to protect weaker pack members that supersedes combat programming. I didn't trigger anything, Keiko protested. I literally just stood there and bled a little. Exactly. The scientist was getting way too excited about this. You displayed injury without defensive aggression. You showed pain without violence. You treated yourself with foreign substances while maintaining calm vocalizations. Every single action screamed, vulnerable packmate in need of protection to species with protective pack instincts. So what you're saying, a council member said slowly, is that humans are accidentally… what? Pack infiltration specialists? We're just existing. Keiko threw her hands up. This is normal human behavior. We get hurt, we slap a bandage on it, we make sarcastic comments about our imminent death, and we keep going. It's called coping mechanisms, not warfare. But you knew this would happen, the Arbiter accused. You're a specialist in pack behavior. You studied the Crothy specifically. I studied them from observation decks, with telephoto lenses, not from inside murder arenas. Keiko took a breath, forcing calm. Look, if I'd known I was going to be thrown into gladiatorial combat, I would have done several things differently. First, I would have read the contract with a lawyer present. Second, I would have worn better shoes. Third, I would have stayed on Earth. One of the Crothy warriors, the one with the leg injury Keiko had noticed, shifted uncomfortably. War Alpha, my leg hurts more when standing this long. Without thinking, Keiko turned to him. Sit down then. Keeping weight off an old injury is basic recovery protocol. When did you tear the ligament? 3 moon cycles ago. Combat trial against the Vraxoth champion. And you've been fighting on it since? Keiko's voice shifted into what her grad students called her lecture tone. That's how you get permanent damage. You need rest, physical therapy, and probably anti-inflammatory medication. Warriors do not rest, the Crothy said, but he was already sitting down. Warriors who want to keep being warriors absolutely rest. Otherwise, you're just hobbling around pretending you're intimidating while actually being a liability to your pack. She pulled out her datapad again. Here, I'm sending you a physical therapy regimen. Basic stuff, stretches, strength training, recovery protocols. The warrior stared at his own datapad as the files transferred. You give me healing knowledge? I'm giving you common sense wrapped in a PDF, but sure. Scarveth made a sound like a landslide achieving consciousness. You see? She provides for the pack, identifies weakness and offers strength. This is pack leader behavior. This is me being annoyed that a perfectly functional warrior is limping around like a three-legged table. Keiko turned back to the council. See what I have to deal with? They interpret everything through their pack hierarchy lens. I can't sneeze without it being some kind of dominance display. The arbiter pulsed in a way that suggested a migraine. Dr. Tanaka, you're not helping your case. You just demonstrated pack integration and resource-sharing behaviors while claiming you're not engaging in pack manipulation tactics. I shared a PDF. It's not exactly Sun Tzu's art of war. Who is Sun Tzu? The Vraxoth delegate demanded. Is this another human pack leader? Do you have hierarchies within hierarchies? How deep does your military structure go? Keiko pressed her fingers to her temples. He was a military strategist who died like 2,000 years ago. I'm making a literary reference, not citing my commanding officer. Your species maintains strategic knowledge across millennia? The council erupted again. This is worse than we thought. We have books, libraries, the internet. It's not a conspiracy, it's called education. A new voice cut through the chaos, calm, analytical, and deeply unsettling in its implications. Perhaps we're asking the wrong questions. Everyone turned. A stellar Ravager representative had entered the chamber. They were 12 feet of iridescent scales, retractable fangs, and a reputation for eating first and asking questions never. Explain, the arbiter demanded. The human is correct. She's not weaponizing pack behavior. She's just being human. The Ravager's translator made it sound like a terminal diagnosis. The question isn't, are humans dangerous? The question is, can we afford to have a species this good at pack bonding loose in the galaxy? I'm standing right here, Keiko pointed out. Yes. And we're all resisting the urge to ensure your comfort and safety. Do you understand how disturbing that is? The Ravager fixed her with eyes that had evolved to track prey across planetary distances. My species hasn't felt protective instinct toward anything outside our clutchmates in 4 million years. Then you show up, bleed a little, make sensible observations about injury management, and suddenly I want to make sure you're adequately hydrated and have eaten enough protein. That's actually kind of sweet. It's horrifying. The Ravager's scales flashed distress patterns. I'm an apex predator. I don't do protective instincts toward aliens. I eat aliens. But right now, I'm genuinely concerned about your stress levels, and considering whether the lighting in this chamber is too harsh for your optical organs. Keiko blinked. Is it, though? Because it is pretty bright. Half the council immediately moved to adjust the lighting, then stopped, then looked at each other with dawning horror. By the void, the arbiter whispered. She got us too. I didn't get anyone. I just have sensitive eyes. Keiko was starting to wonder if she'd accidentally stumbled into an alternate dimension where basic communication was considered psychological warfare. This is insane. You're all insane. I'm going to file so many ethics complaints when I get home. If we let you get home, the Vraxoth delegate said darkly. Perhaps humans are too dangerous to remain in contact with other species. Or too valuable, the Melodian scientist countered. Think of the applications. Peacekeeping forces that make combatants want to protect them. Diplomatic corps that trigger cooperation instincts. Therapy animals, but for entire species. I am not a therapy animal. You absolutely are, Scarveth rumbled. You have already improved pack morale. Warrior Kreshevn's leg will heal properly now. You have provided of pack bonding through shared complaint about authority figures. That's called venting, not pack bonding. Is it, though? The stellar ravager tilted their massive head. Because I do feel closer to you after sharing our mutual frustration with bureaucratic incompetence. The arbiter pulsed rapidly, which was apparently how jellyfish aliens had panic attacks. Emergency vote. All in favor of classifying humans as a Class 7 biological threat? Approximately half the council raised appendages. All in favor of classifying humans as a Class 3 diplomatic resource? The other half voted. This is unprecedented. We have a tie. The arbiter's bioluminescence flickered. Dr. Tanaka, what do you have to say for yourself? Keiko looked around the council chamber. At the apex predators who'd decided she was pack. At the bureaucrats who couldn't decide if she was a weapon or a treasure. At the complete circus her simple observational study had become. I say, she began slowly, that you all need to update your xenobiological databases, get some proper ethical review protocols, and maybe consider that throwing scientists into gladiator pits is a liability lawsuit waiting to happen. Noted, the arbiter said. Motion denied. Now, the real question. What do we do with you? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared through the chamber. Emergency alert, an automated voice announced. Human vessel requesting docking permission. They're demanding the immediate return of Dr. Keiko Tanaka. They're also asking why our combat arena protocols sound like the worst HR violation in the history of the galaxy. Keiko smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. Oh good. My lawyer's here. The council went very, very quiet. Your lawyer? The arbiter asked weakly. Yeah. From the university. She handles all our off-world research contracts. Keiko pulled out her datapad to check messages. Oh, and apparently the Earth Diplomatic Corps, the Interspecies Ethics Committee, and something called the Humans Are Not Gladiators Coalition, that apparently formed 20 minutes ago. Scarveth made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. Your pack is larger than we thought. Humans are really good at forming angry mobs when someone messes with our people, Keiko agreed. It's kind of our thing. The council chamber's doors burst open, and that's when things got really interesting. The human delegation consisted of 3 lawyers, 2 diplomats, and 1 very angry university department chair who looked like she was reconsidering every life choice that led to this moment. You threw my researcher into a gladiator pit? Professor Okoye's voice could strip paint off walls. Do you have any idea how much paperwork that generates? The council arbiter pulsed weakly. It was a cultural exchange program. It was a liability nightmare with a body count. One of the lawyers slapped a datapad on the council bench. We're prepared to file 1,700 separate charges, starting with criminal negligence and ending with crimes against academic research protocols. Perhaps, the stellar ravager interjected carefully, we could reach a compromise? Oh, you want to compromise now? Professor Okoye glared. After you nearly got my best xenobiologist killed for your ritualistic nonsense? Keiko raised her hand. Technically, I'm fine. You got stabbed. Scratched. Minor difference. Dr. Tanaka. Okoye pinched the bridge of her nose. Please stop undermining my righteous fury. I've been preparing this lecture for the entire journey here. The arbiter pulsed in what might have been hope. What would Earth consider acceptable resolution? The lead lawyer smiled. It was not a comforting expression. Dr. Tanaka will explain the scientific basis for what you're calling the protective frenzy. You will listen, you will update your protocols, and you will compensate her appropriately for services rendered. Services? Scarveth rumbled. She is pack. Pack does not require payment. On Earth, Keiko said tiredly, pack absolutely requires payment. It's called a salary. 20 minutes later, Keiko stood before the council with a holographic display showing pack behavior diagrams that would have made her dissertation committee weep with joy. Pack bonding, she explained, is a survival mechanism. Humans evolved it to extreme levels because we're persistence hunters who need cooperation to survive. We're really good at making other species feel like packmates because our ancestors literally couldn't afford not to be. But the vulnerability displays, the Melodian scientist started. our trust-building behaviors. We show weakness to packmates to demonstrate we trust them not to exploit it. It triggers protective instincts in species with similar evolutionary pressures. Keiko pulled up another chart. You see this in canids, felids, most social predators. Humans just do it with everything. Dogs, cats, wolves, aliens who could disembowel us, doesn't matter. We try to pack bond. The Vraxoth delegate looked ill. You're saying humans instinctively attempt to integrate any species into pack structures? Pretty much. We domesticated wolves by accident. We're probably going to domesticate half the galaxy by accident too. Keiko shrugged. It's just what we do. This is terrifying, the Arbiter whispered. This is useful, the lawyer corrected. Which is why Dr. Tanaka's new position will be formally recognized by both Earth and the Galactic Council. New position? Keiko asked warily. The lawyer smiled again. Congratulations. You're now the galaxy's first licensed interspecies pack integration specialist. I'm sorry, what? Effective immediately, another diplomat added. All combat-oriented species participating in cooperative ventures with other species must have human handlers present to facilitate pack bonding and prevent territorial conflicts. You're making me a babysitter for apex predators? We prefer behavioral integration specialist, the lawyer said. Better for the resume. Scarveth's scales shifted to pleased blue. You will be our handler? This is acceptable. I didn't agree to this. Your salary will reflect the hazard pay, of course, the diplomat continued, plus benefits, housing, and full academic credit for field research. Think of the papers you could publish. Keiko opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. You're bribing me with research opportunities. Is it working? Maybe. Professor Okoye actually smiled. The university will expect quarterly reports. And for God's sake, Keiko, try not to start any more galactic incidents. 3 months later, Keiko stood in what the council now called the Interspecies Cooperation Facility, but what she privately thought of as obedient school for murder lizards. Okay, everyone sit, she instructed. 12 Crothy warriors, 4 stellar ravagers, and 6 Vraxoth clutch members all sat, some more gracefully than others. Good. Now, we're going to practice non-aggressive communication. Scarveth, what do we say when we want someone's attention? We do not gut them and take it, Scarveth offered. Correct. We use our words. Try it. Excuse me, I require your attention, please. Excellent. Gold star. Keiko made a note on her datapad. Now, conflict resolution without bloodshed. Who wants to demonstrate? Every hand, claw, and appendage went up. This is so undignified, one of the Ravagers muttered. This is effective, Keiko corrected. 3 months ago, your species couldn't share a space station without territorial disputes. Now look at you, sitting in a circle, taking turns, using indoor voices. I hate that this works, the Ravager admitted. Everyone does. That's how you know it's good training. Keiko checked the time. All right, that's it for today. Homework. Practice the breathing exercises I taught you. They help with aggression management. As the warriors filed out, some stopping to ask questions about proper pack hierarchy, others requesting advice on interspecies cooperation protocols, Keiko updated her personal log. Day 84. Successfully prevented 3 diplomatic incidents, 2 territory disputes, and 1 challenge to the death over a misunderstanding about parking spaces. The Crothy have started bringing me tribute kills, which is sweet but problematic given health code violations. Note: establish no dead things in the classroom rule for next session. Her comm beeped. New assignment: diplomatic crisis on Station Kepler 9. 2 apex predator species threatening war over resource rights. Keiko sighed, grabbed her go bag, now stocked with first aid supplies, behavioral charts, and an unreasonable amount of protein bars, and headed for the transport. I spent 12 years getting a PhD in xenobiology just to become a galactic dog trainer, she muttered. My student loans better cover this. Behind her, Scarveth rumbled what his translator rendered as approval. Best pack leader ever. Keiko couldn't help but smile. Maybe this wasn't so bad after all.